As of January 12, 2023, Tesla massively cut its prices in the US and most other countries, some cuts as high as 20%. Because of this price drop, cars like the Tesla Model 3 are becoming very affordable to own and operate. So much so that Teslas are becoming just as affordable as Toyotas, which have a reputation for reliable, cheap-to-operate cars. This might be surprising since Tesla is commonly associated with expensive vehicles. But after these price cuts and the introduction of the EV tax credit in the US, things have changed quite dramatically. Let's do a comparison of a brand new 2023 Toyota Camry LE and a 2023 Tesla Model 3 rear-wheel drive. Let's compare them over 8 years of ownership, which is the average in the US. Let's start with price. The Toyota Camry has an MSRP of $29,595. It's a front-wheel drive car with a 0 to 60 time of 7.3 seconds. For fuel economy, this car gets about 32 miles per gallon combined city and highway. The Tesla Model 3 has an MSRP of $43,990. It's a rear-wheel drive car with a 0 to 60 time of 5.9 seconds. It has 272 miles of range and gets 132 miles per gallon equivalent combined city and highway, which is over 4 times better than the Camry. This is due to Teslas having an all-electric drivetrain, which are significantly more efficient than gas engines. You might already be surprised by such a difference in starting price and performance, but this is where the new incentives in the US plus the cost of ownership of an EV start to take over. Let's run some numbers. Starting in January 1st, you can receive a $7,500 EV tax credit from the federal government in the United States. This incentive lowers the effective price of the Model 3 from $43,990 down to $36,490, which puts it halfway closer to the Camry starting price of $29,595. And now this is where things get really interesting. Let's compare the average fuel expense for the Toyota Camry, which is a gas car, to the Tesla Model 3, which is an EV. The Camry gets 32 miles per gallon combined city and highway. Currently, the average cost of fuel in the United States is $3.30 per gallon of regular gas. The average American drives 14,263 miles per year, and over the course of the typical 8 years of ownership, this is 114,104 miles. At 32 miles per gallon, this equals roughly 3,500 gallons of gas burned to travel those 114,000 miles. And at $3.30 per gallon, the total cost is equal to $11,766.96. Now let's look at the Tesla Model 3's fuel cost, but before we do that, I'd love it if you throw me a like, as it helps the YouTube algorithm show this video to more people. Thank you so much. Since the Tesla is an electric vehicle and it doesn't require gas, we need to analyze the electricity costs and how efficient the Tesla is at using this electricity. The average electricity cost in the US is 16 cents per kilowatt hour. Per the EPA, the Tesla Model 3 rear-wheel drive uses about 25 kilowatt hours per 100 miles driven, or 0.25 kilowatt hours per mile. If we take the same average distance driven by an American in 8 years, which is 114,000 miles, and multiply by the average kilowatt hour per mile burned in the Tesla, then we get 28,526 kilowatt hours of energy used in those 8 years. Now to figure out the cost to drive this distance, we take our total kilowatt hours burned, which is 28,000, and multiply it by the average cost per kilowatt hour, which is 16 cents. This nets to $4,564.16 of total electricity cost to drive a Tesla for 8 years. Let's put these numbers side by side. The Camry, starting at $29,595 with over $11,000 of fuel costs after 8 years, costs $41,361 total, while the Model 3 costs $41,054 after all those expenses. This means that the Tesla Model 3 is over $300 cheaper to operate over 8 years versus the Toyota. Now let's go ahead and layer on maintenance and repairs. According to Car Edge, the Toyota Camry maintenance and repair cost for its first 10 years of service is roughly $4,200, while the Tesla Model 3 is roughly $3,600. And so over 8 years, this is an additional $492 benefit to the Model 3, bringing the total savings for the Tesla to $800.62. Thus far, the math appears quite clear. Over 8 years, the cost to own and operate a Tesla Model 3 is slightly cheaper than that of the Toyota Camry. Now, there are two variables that are a little bit tougher to calculate, which are insurance and depreciation, that also play into this equation. Let's start with insurance. According to the web, a Camry is generally cheaper to insure by roughly $200 per year versus the Model 3. However, driving habits, what you choose to insure, and the company you use for said insurance can dramatically change this equation. Tesla offers its own insurance in eligible states, and according to some preliminary data, the savings could be as much as 49% versus an average rate you get from competing brands. Due to Tesla being able to track all the data from its cars, it's apparently capable of pricing rates that closely resemble the driving habits of individual drivers, versus what insurance companies typically do, which is to make broad generalizations on your driving habits based on your age, gender, marital status, and other factors. And so depending on the driver, what insurance company you use, what you choose to insure, and how you drive, this could benefit the Camry or the Model 3. And the last variable is depreciation, which is how much the car's value drops over a given period of time. This one is much tougher to calculate because it's impossible to live in the future. But generally speaking, using historical data, a Tesla Model 3 after 8 years of ownership depreciates in value about 45%, while the Camry depreciates about 41%. In absolute terms, the Tesla would have depreciated $16,420, while the Camry depreciates $13,317. This is a $3,100 difference, which would tip the scales back to the Camry if the depreciation holds true over the next 8 years. However, this is where the picture becomes extremely murky, as there are two giant variables going on in the auto market that will drastically impact this figure and could end up dramatically hurting the Toyota and dramatically helping the Tesla. Those variables are a shift to electric vehicles and autonomy. According to multiple firms, EV adoption is expected to soar to 50% in the US by 2030, from the current number of about 6%. This is due to the overall shift to electric vehicles due to consumer demand, government incentives, and manufacturers shifting their production to electric vehicles. Have you noticed more EV commercials when you're watching TV? This is because auto manufacturers are preparing for the next cycle of vehicles, in this case, EVs. If these projections are correct, what this could mean is that as we near 2030, the comparable value of a gas car compared to an EV will be significantly lower, since the gas car will be going out of favor versus the electric car. It will be very similar to what happened with cassettes when we started transitioning to CDs and later MP3s. The old technology becomes increasingly less valuable over time in favor for a cheaper to operate, more reliable technology that the market will have more and more demand for in the coming decade. This means that relatively speaking, gas car values will go down while electric vehicles will go up. And lastly, autonomy, which is by far the biggest wildcard, could have an even bigger impact for the depreciation of a Tesla versus a Toyota. All Tesla vehicles sold today include a hardware and software suite that Tesla claims will be able to drive itself once they finish the development of their full self-driving technology. This means that a Tesla vehicle purchased today could one day drive you, your friends, family, or a random stranger from point A to point B without you having to lift a finger. Essentially, it enables your car to potentially make money on your behalf as a taxi driver, or become a driver assist feature where you don't have to drive the car to get to places. The car will do it for you. I'm sure it becomes quite obvious how game-changing this could be to the relative value of a Tesla Model 3 versus a Toyota Camry. It would stand to reason that the demand for a car that can drive itself will be significantly higher versus one that can't, which implies that the relative value of the Tesla could be significantly higher than that of the Toyotas. By how much? That is the million-dollar question for Tesla and its owners, but the potential is almost limitless. And so this is where we stand. A Tesla Model 3, after taking into account the EV tax credit, fuel cost, and maintenance costs, is about $800 cheaper to own and operate after 8 years. When we take into account insurance, this is highly dependent on the driver and could swing this equation one way or the other. And when taking into account depreciation, this equation could swing back into Toyota's favor as long as EVs don't become the dominant mode of transportation in the next decade and the self-driving technology doesn't come to fruition. However, if either of these two variables come true, the transition to EVs or autonomy, then Toyota will likely suffer from massive depreciation losses, while the Tesla could conceivably hold steady or potentially even increase over time as its utility as an asset increases. The 2020s are going to be a very interesting decade for the auto market, and it's going to be incredibly exciting to watch it unfold in front of our eyes. But let me know what you think of this video in the comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you'd like to talk about this or many other topics with my community, consider supporting the channel by becoming a patron using the link on the video description, or by clicking on join right below this video. This will give you access to our private Discord and all the awesome topics we brainstorm on a daily basis. You can also support the channel by purchasing merch by using the link in the description, or you could also use my code to get 15 to 20% off your next Athletic Greens order, plus free vitamin D and travel packs. This is a supplement I've used for years and has truly changed my life for the better. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope this video was informative and helpful. We'll see you on the next one. Take it easy, everybody. Bye-bye.